Hello. Oh no, my phone. Help me, guys. Okay, is this better? Yeah, this is better. So yes, we are on the 17 episodes of me just studying. Yippee! Where was I? Oh yeah, I was studying a bit about Stoicism because I was like discussing with someone about Stoicism, and I decided to refresh my knowledge about Stoicism. It's pretty much what I think it is, except I gained some new insights, especially about. Hi, yeah, welcome. Especially about how Greekness. Don't you correct live on stream? I will correct live on stream. You can stop me on that one day. Ah, fascinating. Sorry, I'm looking at something. There we go. That should fix everything. And yes, I have reached the point of where was I? What? Oh yeah, we have reached the information ethics. Oh my god, Homo poeticus, which doesn't get explained and seems to be a very fake term that doesn't even get a Wikipedia page. So I assume you have to read some books, maybe, to get it. There's a lot of terms here that isn't fully explained. That's how it is. Even as much as you want to, like, what do you call it? Even as much as people want to right now, like those people who says, "Oh, you just need to use AI. Oh, the knowledge is everywhere on the internet now." No, it isn't. We still have a lot of things that is not recorded on the internet, and for once, all of this, yeah, you could acquire it from the internet if you search hard enough, but harder than usual. But yeah, it's still really hard. Like there's still a lot of vague things that you will know shits if you don't study intensively. Like yeah, well, what else? The term ludic, of course, which involves Johan. Is it Johan? Who? Johan ludic. Johan. Is it Johan? Yeah, Johan Huizinga. That's probably not how to say his name. Hololudens it at least has a Wikipedia page, and then there's Paraludic, which only a few people write it, and then there's the Homo poeticus, which I'm not sure what it means. So yes, we enter the information ethics zone. How to speaking hilarious. Oh, where's my thing? No, the whole screen is covered. How to speaking hilarious. Every AI user deserves to get terms like this in their essay. Yeah, maybe. So small design reserves. We have reached this point. Okay. The strong object-oriented background of information ethic implies object-oriented. Interesting. So, can you assume that virtue ethics was subject-oriented? I'm not sure about that. So, information ethics has a strong object-oriented background because it covers all sets of data entity, which whether it's alive or not, implies that every agent in the infosphere is important to some extent, is a producer of as well as consumer. Oh, I didn't know that. Which in and it and information ethics implies that every agent in the infosphere to some extent is a producer as well as a consumer. Oh. In a system such as the one suggested, By information ethics, interconnectivity is not enough to explain the degree of interdependence. What do you call those? There's ancient philosophy talking about interconnectivity, interconnectivity-ness, whatever the word is. I forgot which one is that. I think Pythagoras is actually talking about that, but that's not really philosophy, right? It's a. I guess it is a philosophy. Who else talking? Probably from India. Not India, Hindus. Sorry for being off topic. I'm going to tell you stuff about games again. Okay, yeah, cool. So as consumer. Interconnectivity is not enough to explain the degree of interdependence. Oh? It's not enough? Not enough to explain the degree of interdependence that every element of the infosphere presents to the other being of the. Why is it not enough? I thought it was enough. In a system such as the one suggested in information ethics, interconnectivity is not enough to explain the degree. Yes, I did not misread that. Of interdependence that every element of the infosphere. Then what is? As informational beings, we are co-participated by every other being in the infosphere, both in a material and in an informational way. Thus, the responsibility of producing and sustaining the infosphere well-being is extended to each and every one of its participants, be they human or not, which is a repeat of the first thing you said. Wait, no, you're saying responsibility, though. Interesting. The concept of subjects that is present in this approach is beyond the egopoietic. What is egopoietic? You didn't explain it. Approach of virtue ethics. Ecopoietic. Yeah, I was talking about the echo thing as well. Probably in my previous term. I don't remember doing it just right now. Ecopoietic, that is assumed that an agent creates the environment and participates in its generation and sustainability, and thus is ethically responsible for the preservation of its balance, as well as for its adequate use and development. We are all developers and consumers in the infosphere. This is a very tech-based view because you can see the term developers and shits, which is not used in the same eco-conscious ethics. Usually don't get used in the same eco-conscious ethic, as far as I know. In the infosphere, and in this regard, we must be ethical and preserve the well-being of the system. Okay. Core Keeper is a building minigame. It's pretty casual, so just the thing for me. Oh, you like casual game, but the control fell off. Oh, gee. Where? I think I've heard about that game, but I don't remember which one is that. Which was there in Core Keeper? Core Keeper. I've heard the name, I think. Oh. Have I seen it? No, I didn't think I've seen anyone play it. Maybe I just like listen to it. I don't understand why at first just feel like it will never select the right block to mine. Interesting. But I didn't freaking hit me. The digging placement range is just one, so you have to be up close. Ah, okay, interesting. So yeah, there's just a feeling of incongruency, whatever the word is, incongruency with like how you feel like, hey, the range should be around here, and the expectation of the range and then the reality of the range is different. And it's really aggressive, snapping the blocks away from your cursor. Ooh. Gem, a producer as well as consumer. In a system such as the one suggested by information ethics, interconnectivity is not enough to explain just got used to longer areas from other games. And that's what Miguel's were talking about in this book as well, because you're building your repertoire from playing other games, and then you play another game, and then you try to suit yourself to the new game that you play. And you have your own repertoire from another game, so that's why you're able to compare those things. Or from your cultural background as well, of course. So it's pretty much a cultural context problem. Maybe? I'm not really sure. It's not enough to explain the degree of interdependence. So just saying that everything is connected is not enough. Why? I assume that's what it's being told. It's not enough to explain the degree of interdependence. I guess whenever you say everything is connected, that doesn't mean everything is dependent on each other, right? You're just saying that everything is connected. Yeah, when you say everything is connected, that doesn't necessarily mean that shits are dependent on each other. So maybe something can be removed. Like, for example, if we talk about in real life, Dodo extinct, and we still keep going. Of course, there's consequences and everything, but it's not the necessity condition for everything to be balanced and not chaotic. Which is, I think that's what Miguel trying to explain here. I'm not sure. So degree of interdependence. That every element of the infosphere presents to the other beings of the infosphere. Being. I should start reading it as being. Infospheres. Question mark? Yeah. As informational beings, we are co-participated by every other being. Co-participated is an important term for this one. By every other being in the infosphere. Today was pretty nice. I was like attending a lecture and not a lecture. Yeah, I guess a lecture. Not. I was gonna say it's a book discussion, but it doesn't really discuss the book. A book promotion, not really. I guess it doesn't really promote the book as well. It has the book as the main theme, but they're basically just giving a little bit of lecture and summary. Not even summary actually. Just talks a little about the book and then talks about other stuff, which is mostly about educating. They're trying to, what do you call it? I'm not sure what they are doing and whether or not they are in a governmental branch or not, but they are trying to push the education of Stoicism and Epicureanism and whatever else, probably in the same range of ancient Greek philosophy. When it's ancient Greek philosophy has some periods, and I'm pretty sure those are the later period of ancient Greek philosophy because they are rather in the same range. Stoicism, Epicureanism, hedonism is part of it, but they probably will just skip it because hedonism bad. But yes, like when so they're talking about it, and they're also talking about supporting mental health of. So basically, what they're trying to do is that they want educations to be more supportive of mental health, and the way they treat it is by also teaching them about Stoicism and Epicureanism, which I can see why, because Stoicism is the foundation for CBT, cock and ball torture. I'm kidding. It's the cognitive behavioral therapy, which, okay, good, but then I gave a few criticism, which is, first, how are you sure that when teaching this, of course, like, a proper teaching of Stoicism is good, but how are we sure that teaching this to people will then result in a naive understanding of Stoicism, which will probably result in people just saying, "Oh, I just need to be apathetic of shits and stuff like that," and I need to be super strong, and then we results in a bunch of new Andrew Tate, and that's terrifying. Because yes, Andrew Tate loves to use the word Stoicism, and a lot of people in the same sphere of him as well. And then second criticism. Yes, that's what I mentioned. Stoicism is kind of favored by the right, but it's in the naive term of Stoicism, I would say. Basically, it's just become a jargon word for them. What do you call it? An empty word. And I don't use the word right because it's kind of hard to just point everything as right, left. Especially nowadays, it's just kind of being left behind. There's a lot of confusion about left or rights and liberal and everything. So it's a. I rather discuss the substance that are being the issues that are being substantial. And then I also ask about. They were talking about DSM-4. They mentioned DSM-4 and DSM-6 that's going to come out soon. Which I didn't even notice about DSM-6 and how that they should take the idea from the DSM to like improve the mental health of children, of course. So I decided to like, you know what? I could just ask, since this place is mostly what do you call it? It's mostly homophobic, queerphobic. It's much more of a term to explain it. Since this race is mostly queerphobic, I try to ask like, hey, DSM-5 mentions that gender dysphoria is a thing, and then are you saying that we should help children to like help children in figuring out and helping them transgender gender and etc. Which I asked, but here's the funny part. I asked it in a rather I tried to sound like as a homophobe for a reason, actually, as a queerphobe for a reason, because I don't want to get like harassed and mauled by potentials, a bunch of queerphobic as well. So I tried to make myself quite vague of my support there, but basically it's a question of support. And third, I was asking about this is a criticism against Stoicism that you've seen a lot as well. Whether or not, sorry, I kind of missed context. So they also told, hey, yeah, we need this mental health thing, especially during the era of information, where there's so many information and everyone is overwhelmed of how to. No, I think they said there's too many information to process and blah 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 blah. Stoicism will help with this, and they are talking about how people feeling alone and shits like that. Which, okay, that's fair, but you didn't address the reality of a lot of stuff is actually happening, and it's actually depressing, and almost nothing to do about it, such as the genocide in Palestine, obviously, which is very highlighted right now, which is very, very fucked. And I asked about that, of course, and I didn't think they actually addressed that because I think they forgot. And that's part of the criticism to Stoicism, which they are trying to promote there, because Stoicism mostly is a subject to calming yourself kind of shits, distancing yourself from the reality of things that is happening. It doesn't really address the whole thing. Hey, your child died? Perhaps you should distance yourself and do not cry about it. It doesn't say you don't have to feel emotions. It just says that don't be real too sad about your child dying. But like, Stoicism doesn't really address that. Hey, maybe we should change things, you know? And basically that. Damn, sucks that you're stuck in that hole. Honestly, I'm gonna say it's kind of vague right now. It's kind of vague. It's better. I don't see much more homophobia in much places nowadays. Good. But also I don't see much other queer people. So, question mark. It's a state of like, you know what? I don't want to risk myself mostly until I know for sure it's safe, but it's not horrible. Because like if we are talking about like, still, if you like to try to search or ask people, they mostly will probably say that, hey, yeah, no, religion says it's bad, but do they will stone you? I don't think so. I don't think they really do that anymore. They will just say that you'll probably go to hell. I know how it way easier than actual victims, but still had the bigots for making me so weak. Mm-hmm. Let's continue. 30% by every other being in the infosphere. Yes, both in a material and in. I'm not sure what is the difference here. Material and in an informational way. What does this mean? Material, maybe informational. Okay, yeah, I could see what I mean. Data that are stored in databases are not exactly material, but informational stuff. Yeah, it doesn't have a form. It doesn't have a matter. So maybe that's what. I'm just assuming. Maybe that's what they're talking about. As information. Thus, the responsibility of producing and sustaining the infosphere well-being is extended to each and every one of its participants, be they human or not. How are we supposed to ask for the responsibility of non-human object? The infosphere's non-human agent being is extended to each and every one of its participants, be they human or not. Ask this. How do you demand the responsibility of non-human agents? Oh god, I have a ton of shits that I need to ask about. Is that no? That's not how you write responsibility in this. There we go. The concept of subject that is present in this approach is beyond the ego. Yeah, I get the ego part. I know what you're saying. It's that you're claiming that virtue ethics is anthropocentric, which question mark? Maybe I'm still not really sure what you mean, but I know what anthropocentric mean, and from that I can infer what you mean by ego. But what is poetic? Like poetic or poetic? What is it? A different kind of poetic? It says poetic, not poetic though. Oh, I'm not sure if it's the same. Concept of subject that is present in this approach is beyond the ego poetic approach. Something came up, I got a dash. Okay, no problem. What does this mean? Approach of virtue ethics. Eco-poietic. Eco-poietic. That is, yes, it assumes that the agent creates the environment and participates in its generation and sustainability, and thus is ethically responsible for the preservation of its balance as well. Sorry. The agent creates the environment participant in its generation and sustainability. Ethically responsible, and thus is ethically responsible for the preservation of its balance as well as for its adequate use and development. We are all developers and consumers. Seems highly technological and capitalistic. I'm just gonna say that. In the infosphere. Capitalistic? Yeah. And in this regard, we must behave ethically and preserve the well-being of the system. Yeah, I can see your argument why we must behave ethically here then. I just don't know how you will demand a responsibility from non-agent well-being of the system. Unless you're talking about the agent as designed, then you have to ask a person who designed the object to be responsible. That's how you demand the responsibility of the agent. My back, it hurts. I'm dying. Yeah, system. Information ethic expand our moral universe, so we're responsible for the acts of participation and co-creation. My brain stopped functioning for a bit because information ethics expands our moral universe. Yes, it does. So we are responsible for the act of participation and co-creation of the informational worlds which we are engaged. Uh, so previously when it's not expanded, we are not responsible for the act of participation and co-creation. Is that because virtue ethics also implies that we should act for achieve certain virtues of communities, right? Hmm? Responsible for the act of participation and co-creation of the informational worlds with which we are engaged. Is it? Does virtue ethics does not address those? The question does not virtue ethics does not address those. Oh wait, what's my hair doing? I'm fixing my own hair every time. I hate it. I kind of want to cut my hair, but at the same time, no. At the same time, yes. At the same time, no. At the same time, mm, where's the spot? Where's the spot? I'm adjusting my seat. This may seems a highly theoretical, complex understanding of computer ethics. Nevertheless, I will argue that information ethics fits computer game especially well, and its application profits inside of the moral and computer games and logic experience that place their analysis in the field of computer ethics. Okay, how? Information and games. To understand the ethic of a game from an information ethic perspective, the first condition that has to be met is that computer game, both as an experience and as an object, has to be considered an infosphere. Yes, that's the point, right? Computer games has both as experience and object, so it exists both of it as experience and object in infosphere. And as an object, has to be considered an infosphere. The informational rich environment where moral agents and patients engage in informational relations that affect and change their states. Yeah, kind of like hermeneutic circle. Is there a hermeneutic circle happening here? Hermeneutic circle happening? 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 Happening here? Hermeneutic, not herme. Cool. Blah blah blah. The environment where knowledge and pain engage and affect the insurance state. It is an environment where all beings are informational objects, and all beings are informational objects. All beings are informational objects, but not all has. Not all has the material. Not all is a material object. Yes, I assume that from the previous reading. And the relations are determined by system and implemented by the creative agent. Implemented by the creative agents. What does that mean? Who is the creative agents? Is it the people outside the infosphere? Are the developers outside the infosphere? Yeah, are the people that create the infosphere are outside the sphere? Huh. By system and implemented by the create creative agents. Who are the creative agents? Are the creative agents the developers? Are the developers outside the infosphere? Let's use a popular example. World of Warcraft as an infosphere can be described as computer-coded state machine, which Miguel has already used in way long before when talking about how computer by its ontology is ergodic. Remember that hosts a number of agents who can interact with the world in an exchange of information aimed at modifying the informational values of agents. Host of agents. Remember, agents is both non-living and living beings that exist in the infosphere who can interact with the world in exchange of more like objects, actually, not beings. In exchange of information aimed at modifying the informational values of agent patients. What's the difference between agents and patients has not been clarified. Why not just use the word agents for everything? Why there's patients? What is patience? And environments in pre-designed but not predetermined ways. In other words, World of Warcraft is a system programmed to react to informational exchange from a number of agents simultaneously accessing and inhabiting that environment. Well, it's a system programmed to react to informational. You know what? Informational ethics has a abstract. What do you call it? Abstract levels, abstract gradient abstractism. So yeah, maybe developers could be part of informational exchange, but how does it manifest? That's the question. What's the difference between having the developers in and out? Why do we need the developers out? In sense of discussing it. Vector informational exchange. Wouldn't it just be complete with the developer in the informational what do you call it, sphere? Informational exchange from a number of agents simultaneously accessing and inhabiting that environment. The change in the state machines are available to everybody in that environment and may also be suffered by everybody. Okay? So that's why everyone has responsibility. Every agent in there has responsibility for it. But I'm still asking whether or not how do we demand the responsibility of non-human agents? And we can also ask about that, like, why? I mean, you viewers, so what do you call it? It's horrible. You just like went up to like, why do I care about if everybody suffers? People ask for that, and information ethics probably doesn't address that. It doesn't address that the fact that probably in the world, especially in the term of capitalist society, there's an imbalance of that already, and yeah, maybe they will get hurt. The people hates them, but that's like just a little bit of party, like billionaires, the top 1% shits, stuff like that. Like, hmm? But we are talking about the specific of computer games, of course. I'm talking about informational ethics in general. Should billionaires care? Or should super rich people care? Which everyone may also be suffered by like, oh, they should care because we will if not, like, the French Revolution will happen again. Where? Why do they have to be afraid? They have the state police, the property police. Within this perspective, the subjectification process of becoming a player is nothing other than processing our being into informational values that are relevant only for that infosphere. Oh, perspective. The subjectivization process of becoming a player is nothing other than reprocessing our being into informational values that are relevant only for that infosphere. For the infosphere. So yeah, there's different types of infosphere, I guess, but within this perspective, yeah. If we see a World of Warcraft as a whole, we can describe it as an environment in which we interact with. How does Miguel explain one agent jumping from this infosphere to another infosphere? Of the same level, you could say. Like, for example, I'm playing this game, and then I'm playing the game. There's the gradient, but the gradient feels like a top-down thing, as far as I understand. How do we explain the horizontal hopping without erasing the identity of the player? And doesn't the player are created in the sense that it needs to fit the specific infosphere, which is yes, but then how do we handle those kinds of a player? Unless there's a bigger infosphere of player, which encompass player for a bunch of games. Fascinating. I guess it could be explained as a transmit of data, transmit of information, which information retains its form. So, you know what? Maybe it's rather easier than that to be explained. Which means in a World of Warcraft, we can describe it as an environment in which we interact with other agents by exchanging meaningful information aimed at influencing the state of the game, and we can only do so only because as players we have become informationally relevant for the system in which we are immersed. So there's an information relevancy in here. The concept of relevancy. Environment in which we interact with other agents by exchanging meaningful information aimed at influencing the state of the game. And we can do so only because, as players, we have become informationally relevant for the. What is the jump around? Relevant for the system in which we are immersed. Hello, Alex, welcome. The gray people has arrived. Where's my shitty filter? I'm trying to find if I can find how? Huh? Oh, there it is. Oh, oh, that one. Let's see what happens if I do this. Yes, hello, welcome to the gray zone. Welcome to the gray zone, Alex. Hope you enjoy your stay. We are the gray people. Woohoo. Alien. Woo. Immerse. I was talking about immersement. Yeah. The game world, without the presence of the player community, is a construct of data, some of which is passive and non-interactive, but most of which present interactive functionalities. Something that could be defined within the information ethic perspective as data beings. Okay, so you use the term beings as well. Alright then. I wasn't wrong using the term beings. Also, the game world, without the presence of the player community, is a construct of data, some of which is passive and non-interactive. So how are we so? Miguel was talking about everything in the infosphere has responsibility. How are we supposed to demand responsibility from the passive and non-interactive thing? I already think that we are demanding responsibility from them by how they are developed first, but then that's not really their responsibility, is it? It's the responsibility of the developers. Maybe I'm just thinking too much about that. How are we supposed to demand? It's like saying that you demand a responsibility from a rock. However, we are talking about design objects in the sense of infosphere. I'm not sure if Miguel would even consider rock as a part of infosphere. So, yeah. But most of which presents interactive functionalities. Something that could be defined within the information perspective as data beings. Information ethics perspective is data beings. Data beings. These data beings are informationally relevant and thus perceive informationally relevant. So all of it, everything is informationally relevant in the infosphere that you abstractly described. Yes? Is that what I assume it is? Is it choose or chose? Choose to be in the infosphere is informationally relevant? Question mark? I'm not sure. That's the thing. I'm just assuming from what I read. And thus perceived as beings by those agents that are immersed in the game in order to play it. And thus perceived. These data beings are important. And thus, because they are relevant, they become perceived. They're able to be perceived, yeah. As being by those agents that are immersed in the game in order to play it. What about the rules that we don't really see, the coding? We don't really perceive those, do we? There's a lot of things that I still don't understand about this. Gosh, it really helped I have contact with Miguel. That makes everything so much easier. Blah, blah, blah. To play a game, then, is to exchange information in an infosphere specifically designed for such exchange. Understandable? The information space of World of Warcraft To play a game then is to exchange information. Okay. The informational space of World of Warcraft is a place designed to play, an environment where these agents and patients exchange informations in order to experience the system in a ludic way. When entering the systems, a player accepts a limitation in her information being in order to be able to exist and participate in the infosphere. So they are limiting themselves. Information being in order to be able to exist and participate in the infosphere. This infosphere is an environment that demands design environments. There we go. That's what I'm looking for. I keep saying like design stuff, but I don't have the proof that it is design stuff, which is now, it is claimed as design environment by Miguel, which helps my claim. It's design environment that demands certain informational capacities from its players, imposing restrictive rules as to what is and not possible for the agent in the world. The infosphere design can have an impact on the informational being of the agents that voluntarily come into being in it. Yes, so we as a human cannot necessarily bring our baggage of everything into a game usually. Not usually, like all the time. I don't think there's any game that fully one scale imitates real life, and that will probably not even a game. People will probably just be like, hey, from its player. The infosphere design can have the shaping of the agent informational being implies an ethical participation of the game system in the configuration of being, and thus it becomes a source of ethical dilemmas. In other words, the shaping of the agent informational being, the restrictiveness and the way it shapes us implies an ethical participation of the game system in the configuration of being, and thus it becomes a source of ethical dilemmas. How is it an ethical participation? Because we decided to, let's see, it becomes an ethical participation because infosphere, the wholeness of infospheres are protected by all the agents that exist in it. So if one agent is doing bad, every agent is affected by it and could also suffer from the state that is happening. So yes, it's very much an ethical cult, and when we are putting a new being inside it that needs to be limited, it's an ethical cult as well. Okay, I understand. From its capacities. The universe were designed, the shaping of the agent's informational being implies an ethical participation of the game system in the configuration of being, and thus it's also an ethical participation because it molds people based on the strict limitation rules, which is usually based on ethical limitations. And thus it becomes a source of ethical dilemmas. That's not how you write dilemmas. This is how you write dilemmas. Smart. In other words, the way the informational system is designed to create and allow informational being to exist and participate in the informational world has to be analyzed from an ethical perspective, because the design affects the well-being of relevant informational beings, and it may therefore influence the overall ethical information balance of the game, which I already said that it influences everything in the game, right? Everything in the infosphere. Hence, the relevance of games as design ethical objects. Why? Sorry, can I miss something here? Okay, design affects the well-being of all. And may therefore influence the overall ethic. Hence, the relevance of games as an ethical object. The ethical object thing. Whatever. It is important here to remember the ontological nature of player as informational beings. Information ethic is an ecological ethics. Okay, it's actually using another terms that I've been using for a while that I was wondering if it's actually a real term or not. Ecological ethics. I've been using that in the previous stream as well as this stream, I think. Or I just said eco ethics in this stream. Which, let's see. Yeah, there's no Wikipedia page about or anything about ecological. What? Oh wait, I searched ecological stream. Of course, there's none. Environmental ethics. Yeah, there we go. Is it different from ecological ethics? I'm pretty sure it's different because this is the first page that I get pointed out. You know what? Kind of similar, I guess. I was pointing out the similarity between ecological ethics and, of course, environmental ethics. What was I? The ontological nature of players as informational beings. Let's put a note here. Ecological ethics. Miguel. Similarity. Cool. Information ethics is an ecological ethics. Oh, I didn't read this again. Information ethics is an ecological ethics. It defines the well-being of a network of interconnected elements, in this case informational being, and how it should be protected. The well-being. All macroethics are environmental ethics, psychological ethics / I'm not sure. Because macroethic says that everything is interconnected, for sure, but let's see. Macroethics. Macroethic and microethics. Macroethics, blah blah blah, deals with large-scale issues often in relation to ethical principles. It's based on the recognition that most ethical decisions in everyday life are not taken on the basis of explicit rational argument or calculations, but rather occur in the continuous flows of relations and dialogues. Well, it doesn't necessarily say that everything is interconnected, so I guess no, yes, maybe it's. I'm not sure how to define it. That whether or not ecological ethic, all microethic is ecological ethics. Interconnected elements, in this case, informational beings, and how it should be protected. Informational beings are related and determined by the other informational beings in the infosphere, yes? For example, in a role-playing game, the level of a player is both an internal characteristic, as it is forged through gameplay, and an external characteristic that reveals relevant data about the player. Sorry, what? I don't understand. Are related and determined by the other. What's the connection with this sentence before? Things in the infosphere. In the infosphere. Okay, how's it connected? For example, in an RPG game, I don't think I need to write RPG game. I just need to write RPG. The level of a player is both an internal characteristic, as it is forged through gameplay. What does that mean? What do you mean internal characteristic as it forged through gameplay? Even the thing that is being shown to us is forged through gameplay, so an external characteristic that reveals relevant data about that player. What? I'm just gonna ask that. What? In player versus player situation, level is used for assessing the chance of a victory in a duel, or for calibrating other gameplay up. I see what you mean by internal. Alright then. Hey, there's a bunch of internal calculations like here and this that you don't really see. So, yeah, when you decided, for example, you're fighting, you're in a fighting game, and maybe not fighting game, maybe you're in an arena game, and your level says you're level 15 and the enemy says it's level 14. You would assume that, yeah, you have higher level, then of course you would win, but by the calculations of inherent the game, the level 14 probably win. It doesn't necessarily reflect what you see. What we perceive of those levels difference. Yeah. Or for calibrating other gameplay options. It is also the cue that determines when an action is potentially unethical, like corpse camping alone. Okay, cool. Cue that determines what an action is potentially unethical, like corpse camping a lower level player. So yeah, don't corpse camp a lower level player. It's unethical. Why is it unethical, Ian? Because no, I actually don't understand because you already said that. Yeah, it doesn't preserve the well-being. I guess it doesn't preserve the well-being. Then yeah, that's the argument. I think it's possible because the other person who was participating in the infosphere will be like, "Fuck you, dude." Doesn't really address if only some people are harassing the lower level player. The lower level player, how will affect the whole infosphere. Yeah, I feel like that's being missed because infosphere is being keep said that, hey, yeah, if you do this to someone, it could to the other agent, it could potentially ruin the whole thing. But which the reality isn't real like that. Yes, it may ruin the experience of the other agents, but it doesn't ruin the whole infosphere. So, yeah. This implies that players are actually dependent on and affected by not only other player informational natures, but also by the way the infosphere articulates and facilitate those interrelations. Ah, fascinating. Dependent? Oh my god, hello! Oh, hello, welcome! Oh my god, that's oh, it's so exciting. Hello, welcome. Pixel Trash. This is the first time I've seen you here, actually. That's so amazing. Exciting. Hello, yes. How's Duck Boy? It's not Duck Boy. Oh shit, I forget the name title. Amnesia. No, Amnesia is the other game that I've been eyeing on. No, I'm totally not looking online. All right, about the Anatin. That's close. How's Anatin doing? Oh my god, I've been like so excited playing. Oh wait, it still says Duck Boy in here. Oops. How's the development going? I'm so excited for your full release of the game. Is it already in Steam? But yes, welcome. So excited to see you here. I'm currently studying for my degree for my thesis, obviously, and it's related to the shit. I'm talking about the ethics of computer games. So yes, this is what I'm studying here right now, and it's mostly talking about a book which is called Ethics of Computer Games as well, which is written by Miguel Sicard. But yes, welcome. Ooh, coming soon. Hell yeah. It's already on Steam. Hell yeah. Let's go. Why do I have 4 notification in? What do you mean I have 2 in the inventory? Sorry, I'm checking my Steam. Because I'm opening Steam right now and I was like, I see that I have a bunch of stuff. Why do I have a bunch of... What? Where do I get this? Oh, from Orange Juice. I recently opened Orange Juice. Cool. It's a... What else? Wait, what's my notifications? Oh, just things being on sale. Okay, cool. Not important, I think. I think it would be important. Let me continue my studying, alright? Player are actually dependent on what? I'm lost again. Where's the part in the book that I'm supposed to read? This implies that players are actually dependent on and affected by not only other players' informational natures. Players' informational natures, but also by the way the infosphere articulates and facilitates those interrelation, how it's designed. So, what's the affordances given and what's the limitations are given in the infosphere, which in this context is game. Understanding this ethical balance of the game and how the informational relations between the agents and patients of the infosphere shapes the ethic of the game requires using the concepts of level of abstraction and gradient of abstraction, which is the way that we limit the scope of everything. Because infosphere could be almost anything that we want it to be, so we should set a limitation of abstraction of what we should talk about in the infosphere, of course. I still don't understand the term for patients. I understand agents. What's the difference between agents and patients? Aren't everything an agent in the infosphere? Is patients means like passive agents? So just use the term agents, no? Since they show relevant aspects of the informational complexity of computer games as infospheres. This method is similar in the concepts to the ludic hermeneutic circle. Yes, I already mentioned that. Where is it? Where? I mentioned it. Sphere, blah 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 blah. Talking about billionaires, cool. Yeah, I was talking here, right here. Is there a ludic hermeneutic circle happening here? And yes, it is mentioned in the book that it's similar to ludic hermeneutic circle. Similar in concept to the ludic hermeneutic circle, but it pertains to the informational being of the game and the relational capacities of the system, instead of placing the importance exclusively on the interpretational capacities of the human agent. I don't understand this part. Similar in concept to the ludic hermeneutic circle, but it pertains to the informational being of the game and the relational capacities of the system, instead of placing the importance exclusively on the interpretational capacities of the human agent. So this is probably where Miguel divides everything into anthropocentrism and the other being much more... What will the term be for this one? Ecocentrism? That's not really an centrism, isn't it? Decentralism? I hate using the term decentralism right now because of the all crypto bros. Let's see. What Miguel is saying? It pertains to informational beings of the game. What pertains mean? Pertains means only this specific thing? Let me see. Be appropriate, related, or applicable. Okay. Applicable to the informational beings of the game and the relational capacities of the system. Instead of placing the importance... Okay, I can see you? No? Pertains to the informational being of the game and the relational capacities of the system. So instead of solely focusing on the ability of one person, the player, to be able to interpret the whole thing, it relies on the ability of the player to interpret the whole thing. I still don't understand the difference. Perhaps because, okay, virtue ethics with logic circles would probably say that, yeah, we heavily rely on the ability of player to interpret things. Hey, but it doesn't address. No, it does address the game could have an unethical design, which is, but it doesn't give the responsibility to the unethical design of the game. So informational ethics dissipates, not dissipate, spreads the responsibility, and therefore it doesn't only rely on the player to interpret shits, but rather, I'm not sure. I can only understand it through the dividends, not dividends, the spread of responsibility versus singular responsibility. What was I? Moss? In this sense, the use of the method of abstraction for the informational analysis of computer games ethics provides a more thorough, that's how you say it, I think, thorough framework than that proposed by virtue ethics. In a sense, the use of the method of abstraction for the informational analysis of computer games ethics, it provides a better framework. Yes, that is maybe? I'm not sure. There is some level of abstraction present in all computer games. These are not the only level of abstraction that can be used to analyze games, but they are dominant when analyzing their ethics as infospheres. Okay, cool. Where? Of abstraction present, so all computer game has abstractions. Weird. I'm not really sure what that means. Then the level of abstraction mean, because as far as I understood, level of abstraction is the scope of things that we want to talk about. Things. So when we're talking about games, my scope is only this game, Counter Strike maybe, and my scope is only Plant vs Zombies, which is, that's the level of abstraction as far as I understand. But then level of abstraction presents in all computer games. What does that mean? That what? I'm just gonna ask that. These are not the only level of abstraction that can be used to analyze games, but they are dominant when analyzing their ethics as infospheres. Oh wait. Oh yeah, Miguel is actually describing it. Probably. These are not the only levels, but they are dominant. So dominant level of abstraction for analyzing. What's that sound? Scary, that was the sound. Ethics as infosphere. One, the game system as informational environment. The game as a design infosphere and how it shapes interactions and behaves as a state machine. Cool. The game as a design infosphere, and how it shapes interactions and behaves as a state machine. 2. The player as... Wait, what? This is so different from what my book will be. Game system as informational environment. The game as a design infosphere and how it shapes interactions and behaves as a machine. is this the level of infosphere that we're talking about? And my understanding of the level of the level of abstraction we're talking about. Because if it is, then I'm so confused about it. Then what does the gradient of abstraction means? There's two terms that he used, and those are not interchangeable. What do you call it? Those are different terms referring to different things. So there's level of abstraction and gradient of abstractions, which I already said. But Miguel doesn't explain what both means, which leaves me in a state of confusion. Player's informational being, how the player becomes relevant to the infosphere by becoming an informationally relevant relevant being capable of exchanging information within the infosphere. By becoming informational relevant being, we are being an informational relevant being when we are start playing the game and accepting the limitations and rules available. The player as an informational being related to and determined by other informational being in the infosphere. Okay. And determined by other informational beings in the infosphere. That is what? How the player behaves in relation to other players and the possible artificial agents in the game, and how those informational relations shape the environment of the infosphere. Fourth, the player is Homo poeticus. Aha, okay, there we go. Homo poeticus. Come on, explain it. A lot of terms are not being explained, so I'm just being thrown around here. How the player reads the values of the infosphere not only by behaving ethically, but also constructing those values that should make the infosphere of the game an informationally ethical place. A place where information exchange take place in a moral way. Still doesn't explain what Homo poeticus mean. Homo poeticus. Wait. Poeticus. Oh, shit. Oh! Oh, thank you! That's why I didn't find it. Because I searched for Homo poeticus, which I have already written multiple times in these notes, that it's Homo poeticus, but when I try to search in Google, I search it as Homo poeticus, which exists, doesn't get explained, and then there is Homo poeticus, which is much more discussed. What is it then? Let's see, Internet Ethics by Floridi and Jewish Sanders. Yep, that's the people that are being referred. This chapter, we argue that web is a enabling environment which both enhance and requires development of a constructionist ethics. Yes, we end by explaining the appropriate concepts of construction. Oh, they are discussing virtue ethics. That's why. We then show why cyber ethics or computer ethics, as it is also called, cannot be based on virtue ethics. Yet we need to return the constructionist approach. So do we need to throw away virtue ethics later? I'm not sure. What does Miguel argue here? Miguel argues that virtue ethics is not enough, but he does not state that, hey, we should get rid of virtue ethics altogether. So I'm like stuck in this part of which, like, Let's see. We can explain that. Out of providing evidence for significant poietic use of web, we argue that ethical constructionism is not only facilitated by the web, but is also what web requires as an ethic of the digital environment. In conclusion, we relate the present discussion to standard position in cyber ethics as to a broader project for information ethics. Still doesn't explain what Homo poeticus is. Thank you. Maybe this will help? We are talking about demiurge and stuff like that. Crazy. This is why ancient Greek philosophy is so important. Because you're going to learn a lot of information, Greek philosophy terms and theory later on, and you'll be like, oh, fuck, man, what are all these people talking about? What? Why are we talking about Spinoza? Huh? Who is this? It's Lucini Floridi. In this chapter, I argue that infosphere is an increasingly poietically enabling environment. Still doesn't explain what that means, which both enhance and regard the development of an information ethic understood as a constructionist ethics for morally responsible agents. Hold on, constructionist ethics is an ethic that are developed through experience and what? Experience and what? Experience and social interaction. Okay. Which. Okay, you know what I can. No, wait. Where does it construct itself? How does it argue that it's a constructivist theories when I don't see where, because we are talking about infosphere, right? Oh. I'm trying to understand this. Infosphere argues that it's a constructionist. Sorry, constructionist. Okay. It argues that it's a constructionist theory, which means that the ethics are developed. Sorry, through experience and social interactions. Maybe, I don't know. Mostly experience, you could say. Living. It says that basically, but then how does the infosphere have a constructionist theory ethics? Where does it even develop? Like, does it experience? Because experience requires that we are quite. Experience, what do you call it? Wait, experiencing something, experience requires us to live, right? Is Infosphere alive? First? Yes, maybe. Infosphere has a, what do you call it? You could say that Infosphere alive, yeah. But does it need still, like, other than being living, what else do we need for an experience? Sorry, I'm trying to think. So it claims that Infosphere doesn't have an innate. It has innate ethics. Sorry, I'm lost. I'm real lost at this point. Let me just search. Let me just search in my writing. This. Equalist inversion and virtue ethics, then logic and logism provides a way. Process of ethical reflection with both virtue ethics. For integration of the subject in an ongoing process of ethical reflection, why there's an ongoing ethical reflections? I didn't ask that like previously, so that's good for me to ask that now, which is why I'm stumped because I don't understand what's happening. There are 177,000. That I have written 100 pages over. Insane. I think I've written 100 pages. I'm pretty sure of that. I'm so lost. I'm so lost. Where was I? There we go. There we go. There we go. How much weight is this? I think I'm too far. How do I reprocess all of this later? I can. I totally can. I just need to finish it first so I can process it after. That's what I need. Finish it first, then process it later. How is in ethics constructionist ethic? Good question. For moral human age, for morally responsible agents. Human agents, both as individuals and multi-agent systems, belong to the class of responsible moral agents. So a constructionist ethic concern them primarily and directly. Not only them, however, because if there are other kinds of responsible agents, the same concern will concern them too. Okay, so everything, alright then. Only agents who are indifferent to the world, such as Aristotle Unmoved Mover or Spinoza Natura Naturans, are at most accountable, though not responsible for what happens to it, and hence fail to be addressed by. Yeah, no, you lost me there. You lost me since long time ago. Still doesn't explain what is Homo poeticus. Atlantic Crest, help me. Springer, help me. What is it? Oh God, thank you. Proceedings of the 4th Asia Pacific Research in Social Science and Humanities, Arts and Humanities stream. Ooh, interesting. Huh? Behavioral ethics, cognitive ethical decision making, Homo poeticus, information ethics. Yes, this enablement of digital environment technology sparks a significant social structure shift. Luciano Floridi, through his rentologization technology, explains that information could radically change the social structure. The rentologization is carried through the interaction of inforks and infosphere. What is inforks? Where does that term came from? The theory becomes the ethics foundation called information ethics. Information ethics emphasizes infosphere with ideality without the entropy to explain the definition of good. Emphasize infosphere with no, the definition of good will be the preservation of the infosphere, wouldn't it? So through the understanding of ethics as the construction of ideality. What? Floridi believes that humans are Homo poeticus, a demiurgic characteristics of the informational and moral agent. I don't think that explains anything for me here. Is this a scam? Springer has a 5 respondent will win $100. Sure. I feel like that's a scam. I'm so happy. This, let's see. The digital revolution, according to Luciano Floridi, brings up again question about the relation between physics and technique. Okay, see? That's an Aristotle term. This revolution, in fact, reveals the ancient tensions between nature to be passively observed and as known, physics. I'm dead. In practical sense or art, that's someone interferes with it, technique. Oh, okay, so that's what practical sense or art? No. As a consequence, digital technologies pop out front the fact that the agent interfering with nature creates rather than simply happens to be in. Wait, what? Digital technologies put front the fact that agent creates. That's why it's constructivist theories. Cool. Rather simply happens to be in situations liable to moral judgment. This poetic dimension, you don't explain what the fuck is poetic. I'm gonna. Poetic, please. You know what? I should probably have just searched the fucking meaning of poetic. Productive. I'm gonna kill myself. Homophobia. Games. Humans are productive. Thank you. Sometimes I want to take a break from life. I hate this. I hate this so much. When you search homopoietic, blah 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 blah. Question mark? Just search poietic, bro, and you understand. Oh fuck. Still, that doesn't mean I understand what they mean. They could mean other shits, of course. But for now, I just refer to like, yeah, that's what homopoietic means. Homopoietic subregards the value, so that's why it literally says this is why it's struck this ethic, because we create the fucking value, because the agents create the values. I'm fighting literal demons of educations. Within any of this level of abstraction, an ethical action will be that which modifies the infosphere informational structure. So the gradient, I assume the gradient. So the gradient is all of this, I would assume. Hard to tell. What's this? Survey. Win $100. Let's go. I hate this. How many Richard? Huh? Zero? Zero? In the past 24 months, how many books have you published with Scholar Pub? Zero? To add context to your answers, we would like to know more about your primary institution, organization, research funder. No, I'm not currently not employed. None? I think I'm entering a fucking random fucking questionnaire. I don't like this. You said you have not published a research article in a peer-reviewed journal or a book with a scholarly publisher in the past 12 months. Unfortunately, this survey is unlikely to be appropriate for you. If you wish, you can still enter the random prize drawn. Wait, what? Why can I enter this? What do you mean I can enter this? How do you even track me? I don't even enter my. This is hilarious. Philosophy. Where? There's no philosophy. I'm so fucking dead. Humanities and social science? What am I doing? I don't trust you. This is Springer, right? Wait, this is the official Springer site, right? Am I falling scam to like a scam in like real life? Yeah, probably I am. Just kidding. I trust Springer. Unless Springer gets hacked, then I'm fucked. Question mark? What was that? Okay, thank you. Within any of this level of abstraction, an unethical action will be that which modifies the infosphere informational structure, creating an imbalance in the experience of the system. Well, yes, I've already mentioned that. Informational structure, creating an imbalance in the experience of the system. I'm clapping if you all can not heard it. Like clapping my hand. Little hand. Tiny little hand. Clap, 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 clap. I want to turn on the music for myself. No, not for all of you. You all can suffer. Ah, that's loud. There we go. That was better. Grr, grr, roar. Let's see. Where am I? There we go. And even the informational as matrix. Give up. Inferential asymmetry, in the context of computer games, is a situation in which one or more agents have an influence on the infosphere that is seen as illegal by the rules of the game. Yes, I mentioned that can happen already. I do not mention that can happen. I was questioning. Actually, yeah, I did mention if it can happen as well in informational ethics, because it happens in the ecological ethics, which is why there's a criticism against capitalism. But how does informational ethics attempt to address this? Infosphere that is seen illegal by the rules of the game. This is just talking about the infosphere of game, of course, but can be expanded. The case of cheating, for example, implies a modification of the infosphere that introduce. Here's the problem. I still don't understand how to use the level abstraction for infosphere. All I know is that this is the level abstraction that exists for the infosphere of a game, but I don't know how to expand it. I do not know how to define more level abstraction. Games, I'm lost. The case of cheating, for example, implies a modification of the infosphere that introduces informational asymmetries in the system, correcting the well-being of the game. Does it matter? Like first, like you could say, like, yeah, does like one actions really matter that much? Will disturb the balance? No. In computer games, informational being can actually be clearly defined. And that is a game infosphere is healthy when its informational structure, its game design, allow players to undergo a ludic experience in which they can participate. Thank you, Miguel Cigar. Can be defined as when its informational structure, its game design allows players to undergo a ludic experience in which they can participate. Okay. This experience is designed and limited by a system. In other words, the game infosphere is in balance when all players can experience the game design system successfully. This implies that a healthy game infosphere is one in which the player can actually create and enforce her values within the game system, and in which the implementation of those values do not alter the informational structure of the game. Okay, understandable. Also, a healthy gaming sphere. In a healthy gaming sphere, players exert their creative stewardship. Creative stewardship means, in the case of computer games, to act responsibly and ethically, preserving the game experience and the game system as an infosphere. For example, not cheating, while exerting a level of creativity within the game, creating new strategies, improving as a player, cooperating with others, and exploring the world. I should take note of that one, actually. Ship. Creative stewardship means, in the case of computer games, to act responsibly and ethically, preserving the game experience and the game system as an infosphere. For example, not cheating, while exerting a level of creativity within the game, such as creating new strategies, improving as a player, cooperating with others, and exploring the world. Or maybe killing some other players. Let's take an example of emergent gameplay in Deus Ex emergent gameplay, of course. I think I already know about that. Yeah, I already taken note of that. Cool. Shit, I forget what's the term to use. Creative stewardship. There we go, I find the part. This is horrible. This is the best I can do, because if I try to write it in a fucking browser, it'll just blow us up my stream. I'm not kidding, it blows up my stream if I try to show my browser will also try to type shits in it. Oh yeah, I need to erase this thing. And to erase this soon. I need to change it to a much more simpler one, so yeah. There we go. Exploring the world. Deus Ex is, in this game, players are placed in an open-ended level so they can navigate in almost any way they want, making use of their knowledge of the game and the tools and mechanics provided by the designers. One of those tools was a mine that could be stuck to the walls. Cleverly enough, some players discovered that with the right amount of skill, these mines could be used as an ad hoc ladders, which allowed players to avoid potentially fatal enemies. That's kind of silly. That's not cheating. That's I don't know, dude. You could argue that it's like, did the player cheat? No, as a matter of fact, this is a great example of creative stewardship in the computer game. Hey, some people would argue that those are cheesing, you know? And that's actually a value that shouldn't be really pushed. And maybe even it could be argued as disturbing the informational sphere, the infosphere of the whole thing, because like people are just cheesing around instead of playing the game experience. Player understood the infosphere, how it functioned, and how they are related to it as players within the game world so well that they could devise an unforeseen strategy that, while preserving the logic of the game, does it preserve the logic of the game? It's, yeah, I guess yes. It's based on the logic of the game that you can do this, but it's not really what in the mind of the developer. Was also a symbol of their own capacities as players in the world. In other words, players appropriated this world and made it theirs. Appropriated. That's an important thing to be noted, because Miguel also used the term appropriated. That's not how you write it, but I gave up. The game world and made it theirs. Miguel also mentioned this in his audio lecture, which is fast forward in the future, because this book is written in 2009 and the audio lecture was in 2019, 17, 18, 17, somewhere on it. Many years. So when we play with something, we appropriate something, preserving its original structure and functions, but extending it by means of reflecting on their agency. Creative stewardship in games take place in all instances in which players contribute to the game beyond the mere manipulation of the basic input procedures required for a game to be played. Oh. Okay. Takes place in all instances in which players contribute to the game beyond the mere manipulation of the basic input procedures required to be playing the game. Building communities. Oh, okay. Going to be played. So building communities, helping other. Hey, that means I have a creative stewardship, don't I? That's cool. Helping other players or devising strategies and gameplay patterns are all examples of this type of ludic. It suddenly appears. The word appears like Batman out of nowhere. It's terrifying. Starship. In summary, a game is an infosphere designed to create an experience by a number of players who are interrelated in their number of players. So the community is counted in an infosphere. I was more thinking of infospheres when you know what? Yeah, the community has been a part of Mika description also. Yeah, infosphere is much more wider than that. When we are talking about infosphere of, for example, Left 4 Dead, it's not just talking about that infosphere that happens when me as a player right here, right now, is playing Left 4 Dead. No, it talks about the whole play-based community of Left 4 Dead as well. Okay, cool. Designed to create an experience by a number of players who are interrelated in their informational being. Information, I think, provides a way of understanding why the design choice, which at some levels, the system as such, the player devoid of other agents may be considered harmless, are actually source of harm and thus unethical. What's the example? I don't know. Yeah, microtransaction I would immediately consider harmful. What's an example of a harmless design that actually is a source of harm? Question mark? It will require me to identify something that I think harmless first, and then I need to analyze it whether or not it's actually harmful. Isn't really obviously harmful. Why does why does the infosphere help with this? For any informational system to be ethical, it has to be open to the creative action of its agent. Otherwise, the system is prone to imbalance and thus has a tendency towards becoming an unethical system. Imbalance, it has a tendency to toward becoming an unethical system. A video game is a ludic infosphere created with the intention of making possible a limited and conditional number of informational exchange between agents, patients, and informational objects. I don't understand. I think I'm I hate this. I hate this a lot. I got good. No. I'm being dragged away. No. You know what time is it? For me to actually open my phone and look for it for a bit to play Monster Hunter now. I need a distraction. I almost blessed everyone with that sound because I said na 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 spins. Rama Rama God. Monsters. It's an Azuros. Arzuros? Yeah, Arzuros. I fucking hate Arzuros, buddy. They're so disgustingly tough, especially level 6 Arzuros. Like, dude, who made you? Hey, come on, I'm winning. That's a bad slap. You can relax. Yes, I win. I'm using like a slip weapon for this creature, which is I think slip is OP for now. Maybe paralysis is OP as well. I'm not sure. I have a limited amount of resources right now. I'm being bullied by monsters. I don't like it. Yay! It's a Pookie. Happy. Happy. Run! Dodge! This game is so stupid. Ah! It hurts! Dodge! I'm out of medicine, that's why I'm so panicking right now. Yes! Go to fucking sleep! Die! Sorry. Wait, why do I hit you once more? When you are already dead? I didn't know you could do that. I'm playing Monster Hunter now in mobile. I'm fighting for my life right there. Ah, it's a level 6 Tobikadachi. I don't want to fight a level 6 creature. We'll just run this game. This game is woke. Why? It's because of the woke mob. Why am I blaming the mob? The woke? I don't know. Everything is the woke fault. My wife left me. That's a woke. I kinda don't want to fight Rat. Do I want to fight a Tobikadachi? Good question. No. I don't want to fight a Tobikadachi. Must I fight a Tobikadachi? I must fight a Tobikadachi because if I do not fight it, not get the shits that I want. No, it's a few hours left. I also have some other games that I play, but I kind of didn't play the whole day for the day because I'm busy. Let's see if this actually results in a good ending or me, my ass getting kicked. Probably my ass getting kicked. Not gonna lie. Dodge! I didn't know Tobikadachi can play. Fly, not fly. I wish there's a way to show Monster Hunter without fucking doxing myself, by the way. Yeah! I didn't know they could be like a raccoon like that. Dodge! Please, no! I hate myself. Wait. Let me see. How to stream Monster Hunter now without doxing yourself? I wish there's a way to show Monster Hunter now. Nope, that doesn't help. Why is it showing Pokemon? What's wrong? What? I'm searching for Monster Hunter now. How to stream Monster Hunter now. Wait, there's actually a streamer mode? No fucking way. I will end myself if there's a streamer mode. Sure. Display place name. No? Item box limited. Meet hunt. Push it. Hmm? There is a anger. Oh my fucking god, there is actually a streamer mode. This game has a streamer mode. I can actually stream this. I just need a way for me to actually stream it to like OBS without actually fucking doxing myself. That's the only problem right now. Now, actually, without like me streaming and then suddenly someone calls my fucking phone and then their whole face is just being shown and I'm like, well, fuck. I accidentally dox myself, I guess. No way to do that. Maybe do not disturb mode? Mode? Airplane mode? What's this? What does do not disturb do? You know, I feel like such an old person. Nobody? Yeah? No app is being allowed to be notifying me in the service. No. Ah! 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 Sorry, I'm screaming. Ah! I can actually. I need someone to call me right now. Someone call me? No? I don't have anyone to call me. It's so sad. Yes, let's continue, shall we? But, I guess I now know that I could do that, technically. Sorry, I'm sorry, I'm being psychotic. How do I stream it to OBS? Monster Hunter. Now, OBS? Hmm? How to capture? Wait. Wait, hold on. There's this program called Google Play Beta, right? Wait, do I already have it? Right. I don't? I think I do. Cool, install it. Do you have Monster Hunter now? Can I install Monster Hunter now on this device? So I can show people? That'll be amazing, right? That'll be super amazing. God, I'm so smart. Intelligence increases by 20%. 100% cooler. Now you don't understand the reference, do you? Wait, hold on. Studying can go away for later. Install it. Son of a bitch. No, don't push it. Don't push it. Talking incomprehensibly, angrily, filled with rage. And the state of the game. The game is a lytic infosphere. Everything is loading for you, Gal. Created with the intention of making possible a limited and combinational number of informational exchanges between agents, patients, and informational objects. Objects. Oh, install. 22. Oh no, it only requires 2 gigabytes. Yippee! It's downloading. Does it affect my streaming speed? I hope not. I just realized this is a horrible idea. Maybe not a horrible idea if I can show it. Oh, this is so cool. Oh, this is so cool if I can stream. Sorry about that. I don't even... So, play beta? Do you have Monster Hunter now? I don't think so. So why am I installing this then? Why am I fighting fucking... do you have any... yes, you have a list. Who fucking want to play Free Fire on... Avatar World? That seems cute. Clash Royale? No! Why would I play Clash Royale? Ludo, no. Genshin Impact, I cannot even fucking play it either. You fucking expect me to play? First, it requires me to focus, which is that. Hungry. No, I need something that I do not need to focus in. Chess. Who am I playing? I don't want my opponent to be like, where does this person go for like 7 hours? Cookie Run Kingdom requires me to be active all the time, so no. The Spike? I never heard of it. Rise of Kingdom! No, hold on. What? Why do you... Pacific Rim? Fishing. Mobile Legends Adventure. Ayo. 3.9. Well deserved. Gacha Life. Oh, maybe. Snake Clash. Animesh? No. Damage Press. No. 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 Good Pizza, Great Pizza. Oh, I love making pizza. Huh? Sniper 3D. Who? Gacha Club. 1945. Jillian. Chess. The Ants. Underground. Sushi Story. Ludus. Cooking Mama. Let's cook. We'll let them cook. There's a Gacha Life too. Well, why is Dragon Ball Legends 3.8? That's terrifying. Age of Apes. Monkey. Solar Smash. SpongeBob. Haha. Brown Dust Tube. Seems cool. Pixar Car Race. Capybara Go. Annoying. You know what? You can apply Monster Hunter now, probably in Google Play, but I don't know. So I need to capture a card to do it. Because essentially, you need to move your fucking phone around to play the game, and maybe not. Maybe yes? Cancel! Yes, cancel it. There we go. Back to studying game. The game is then not only the game world, but every world in which the informational being of the system and its agent, the player, is both possible and meaningful, including community outside the game as well. Information takes into consideration. Oh my, I see cheap. Information ethics take into consideration the game world, the game situation, the living room. Oh, okay. Why does the living room is important in information ethics? I'm interested. The game situation, for example, E.G. The living room, and the what? Game community. E.G. Forums. All these layers of the infosphere, as it is this value that determines if the informational exchange is relevant. I guess when you're talking about, yeah, it also counts your living room because you can talk to people. Hey, I'm typing this from my living room. Hey, I'm typing this from a fucking what? From a fucking swamp. Cool. Why are you gaming in a swamp? I don't know. As it is. Wait. In other words, the condition that creates the infosphere also determines its boundaries and thus the applicability of the information ethic method. What? A player is an informational being relevant in the infosphere, yeah. An informational being that has constructivist values, not only participating in the infosphere as an agent, but also acting as a creative steward who has to be responsible for the informational being of the system, well-being of the system. Information ethics has a strong object-oriented approach, meaning that players, and or by extension any agent in the ludic infosphere, are never atomized unit of information. Their being is dependent and modified by the being of other informational beings in the system. What a player can be is determined by what the system allows her to be and how she can relate to the system, like in classic text-based adventure games in which there was only one keyword could trigger the game progression. Player can relate to the infrastructure is only in only a limited number of ways. Some of them allowed by the game, some are consequences of the constructive capacities of the player in her interpretation of the game informational values. Pause the stream right now because I want to press the pause button. Okay, I'm back. Sorry. Let's see. Oh, my back, it hurts. My tummy, it hurts. I'm hurt all over. It's 11. I'm lost the game. What a player can be is determined by what system allows to be. Oh, yeah. Some of them wait, am I here? Like in classic, Some of them allowed by the game, some are consequences of the constructive capacities of the player in her. Can relate to the infosphere in only a limited numbers of ways. Some of them allowed by the game, so already put there by the developer, therefore some a consequence of the constructive capacities of the player in her interpretation of the game's informational values. Yippee! I'm grabbing my. That's the sound of my chair. I'm just grabbing something which I sit upon. Information ethic object-oriented approach supposes a radical change of perspective. Why is it a radical change? Actually, I don't really understand. Maybe I'm taking it for granted because I have studied a lot of ecological ethics, so yeah. Information ethic object-oriented approach supposes a radical change of perspective. Every being in the game is related, interconnected, and relevant for some other being, or for all those beings. And this not only accounts for what is actually programmer code, the game community, the individual player, or even the media or elements traditionally considered to be external to the game play a significant role in the ethical configuration of the game. So yes, game can get. So that's why you can judge a game with a questionable ad, which is interesting. That's an informational ethics. So that's a breach of the information ethics right now. I've been crying to that music for a while. Every year. I've been listening to that since I was little and never really does change, does it? Yes, everything is interconnected. And relevant for some blah blah. So, yeah. Because every being in the infosphere can and will eventually be related to and interpreted by another being of that same infosphere. This explains the player repertoire and their community culture, but also the discourse of the media and of institution that affects the informational stages of the game. When the United States military praised the capacity of the game as a virtual web-based environment for training, they are effectively adding value to the American Army infosphere. Ah, the capacities of computer games as virtual web-based. That's not how you write web-based. This is how you write web-based. Yeah, apparently so. Environments for training. They are effectively adding value to the America's army. I guess yeah, they're adding value to. Why are they not adding value to the game infosphere? Why is the America's? Hmm? I'm not sure. It becomes a propaganda tool. Wait, I'm checking. This page 137. I need to scroll on a lot to the footnote to see. When there's butterflies and nothing. Let's see the note. I'm checking the note. Adding values to the America's army, and then there's an endnote. I'm curious what that endnote means because the America's army part is actually italicized, whatever the word is. U.S. Army 2002. What kind of fucking source is that? U.S. Army 2002. Okay, let me search it. Wait, huh? It is a game. It's what the fuck? What the fuck did I? U.S. Army. Holy, wholly not clear, buddy. This is not helpful. This is so funny. American Army is a series of first-person shooter games about. What the fuck is America's Army? Is there people playing it? There's three set of a game. When the last release is 2013. Wait, no, there's still more. There's a five? Oh shit! In the community, the project remains proper wave as of December 2024. Uh, oh, I didn't realize that proper wave means that. Generally announced to the general public, but is late, never actually manufactured or officially cancelled. Cyberpunk, example, yeah. What? What the? I didn't even know this exists. Let me see. Let me see. What kind of game is this? That's fucking horrible. It's a. It becomes a propaganda tool. Page 107. There we go. And a recruitment device that makes shit so much more clear. And they add this propagandistic or political meaning because the nature of their discourse is informational relevant within game infosphere, and thus become a part of the game experience. They have political meaning because the nature of their discourses is informationally relevant. Something is informationally relevant within the game infosphere. I can talk about Palworld, maybe this one with the. You cannot say. I don't know if Palworld is developed with using AI or nothing, but the developer just kind of points to using AI in other shit, so I'm kind of discussing in that. You need to be considering that as well with the game infosphere, and thus becomes a part of the game experience. I like this. You know, this is kind of like The Last of Us 2 with Neil Druckmann and the conflict, not the conflict, the genocide, the Palestinian genocide that's happening right now. Because you can actually, you can just search online and you'll see some few people talks about it. How, oh yeah, you can see in the whole thing, it's actually, we call it an analogy, metaphor for the whole shit, which is really weird. Quite a weird metaphor. Oh yeah, the cycle of violence must end. We are both monsters and we must stop hurting each other. I think it doesn't realize that there's actually a really huge imbalance here, but I'm gonna say that. I'm just gonna say that. This leads to the concept of distributed responsibility, which is the great contribution of information ethics to the understanding of digital games. Why? How? Like there's, like yeah, I guess information ethics does points to that, and also ecological ethics. But how does the point before, which is this, leads to this contribution of information ethics to the understanding of digital games? In a game, every information being that plays a role in the infosphere has a shared role in the ethical values of that infosphere. The responsibility is not univocal. There's not one single element of the infosphere that can be held responsible for the ethics of the game. Okay. Wait, that... Yeah, see, this doesn't address my concern, especially in the ecological sense, then. Not one single element of the info. Wait, what if we bring it to ecological ethics then, and then a billionaire becomes unethical, we cannot help them responsible? That can be held responsible for the ethics of a computer game. Not the designers, not the players, the singers. Who's the singers? Not players, not the player community, not the media. Every informational being, including computer control agent, has a role in the infosphere and thus has responsibility for the well-being and physical soundness of the. So it's everyone's responsibility? Yeah, yes, that's what I'm saying. No, what? Yeah. I guess what you meant to say is not only the responsibility of one person, at the same time you don't acknowledge that there's a possibility of power. Confusing. Not media. Which... I guess I would understand if you say, like, yeah, you cannot totally blame the players and shits for this. For some situation, which is... For some situation, of course. But it still doesn't make sense to me. This responsibility plus the ethic have to look at which information stakeholder is relevant for any ethical issues that arises within the infosphere of a game. Huh? Wait, so you're saying that what? Oh, okay. See what you're going to say here. We cannot just like immediately attribute the ethics, the responsibility to one, but we must consider the context of the situation and then choose which one is actually responsible for it. That makes more sense. I guess if that's what you mean, yeah. Which is like would be confusing to me if it doesn't. Which informational stakeholder is relevant for any ethical issue that arises within the info sphere of a game. Ah, okay. I'm still not sure if that's like what they're showing in, so yeah. It also implies that we have to look for the distributional and restaurant structure of these responsibilities. Who's responsible for what, when, and to what degree? Yeah, thank you, the degree. Implies that we have to look for the distributional and relational structure of those responsibilities, which a lot of people already do actually. Who is responsible for what, when, and to what degree? There we go, thank you. There is no single bearer of responsibility in a game because a game is an object-oriented informational structure where many elements can be interconnected in their ontological existence in that endosphere. There's no single bearer. There's no single bearer of responsibility. To escape the ethical games, then it is necessary to identify the distributed network responsibilities relevant. Okay. Describe the ethics of computer games. Then it is necessary to identify the distributed network of responsibilities relevant to a specific ethical issue determine the structural relations in terms of responsibility of that structure and suggest solutions for the ethical problems found. I'm. Wait, do we need to suggest? I guess no. We can just point out first. I don't think we need to suggest anything. Do we? Distributed responsibility is of crucial importance when you think about the importance of players and players. In the ethical configuration of the infosphere, the responsibility that the agents and participants in the infosphere have relates to the previously introduced concept of creative stewardship, by which the agents of the infosphere are entitled to exert their creative capacities within the infospheres, while they must at the same time preserve its integrity. Yes, in the case of games, the successful experience of the game. It could be possible to relate to virtue ethics using the concepts from the object-oriented approach of information ethics, which also relates to the notion of distributed responsibility. I already say that. I was explain. Agents can be defined as informational objects with a number of data structures and method. Wait, no, actually, have I? Is it what I explained? I already said that. I already said that virtue ethics actually kinda also have the notion of distributed responsibility, unless I'm wrong. Hmm? Here. Making my own S here. Relate to ethics using concepts from the object-oriented approach of information ethics, which also relates to the notion of distributed responsibility. Agents can be defined as informational objects with a number of data structures and methods. Yeah. This method determines how objects relate to others. Sorry about my mic. Objects with a number of data structures and methods. Those methods determine how objects relate to others. Objects with a number of data structures and methods. So, what does method means refers to? For example, my hair. For instance, the capacity of players to create their own codes of I'm fighting my hair. Behavior that adapt to the virtual environment. So behavior that in WoW may be considered. Wait, there's a quotation mark now. Positive method, one that allows players to directly intervene on behalf of the infosphere's well-being. It can be assumed then that there's a relation between these methods that contributes to the environment and the features of players as this. I see. So you're connecting both now. Spheres, well-being, and the virtues of players, as described previously. This is why it's different from the previous writing by these people that talks about informational ethics, because I assume from what I read briefly is that they deny the virtue ethics altogether, but which Miguel's tried to integrate both here. Previously in this book, Miguel tries to integrate both both virtue ethics and informational ethics. The interesting aspect of information ethics, though, is that while the virtue ethic approach tends to limit the development of these virtues to the player, tends to limit the development of these virtues to the player. Do I want to check the note? I gotta check the note because I'm not sure what that fucking means. I hated you so much, buddy. I'm just gonna say that. Why do you use the endnotes? Save Lordians and... Oh, okay. It's only done because articles in the game that encourage the fostering of the ludic virtues by design is also a virtuous game. Wait. While virtue ethic approach tends to limit the development of this virtuous player, and then there's a note, and I'm saying the endnote, it says... It only tends to because virtue ethics states that a game that encourages the fostering of the ludic virtues by design is also a virtuous game. Oh, yes? Nevertheless, it seems to be so in a second degree order because if the agent can develop virtues from experience in the game, then the game is virtuous. Yeah, every game becomes virtuous. I was asking that. I was like actually saying that. Hey, there are games with unethical affordances that can create virtues. So, Current information I think includes the game design, the developer, and other information agents in the network of this amount that is perhaps more appropriate for. Okay, cool. Even the unethical one. Bingo. Actually, good for looking at the end note. Fucking end note. Fuck the end note. So should have put it in at the end note. I hate it. In the distributed responsibility perspective, all stakeholders should contribute to fostering these virtues. These methods that contribute to the well-being of the ludic infosphere. Information ethics expand the moral universe, take into account all that beings that can affect or suffer harm. Yeah, cool. That can affect. So the greater can every being in the infosphere. Is there anything? I'm not sure. We get an abstraction of any research on the ethics of medium from. Sorry, there we go. The gradient of abstractions of any research on the ethics of game from defines the then or distributed responsibility by the method of abstraction. Jurassic Killer 92. I have no idea what this topic is, but it seems pretty cool. Also, hi. Yeah, this is pretty cool. This is I'm reading the book called The Ethics of Computer Game by Michael Scott, which is written in 2009. It's good, but rather confusing because first, there's a lot of terms that you maybe need to get from reading other books first, which is so this book. I don't really recommend reading this without actually having access to the other books that you might need to read first to understand what Miguel is talking about. However, you could just also try to connect it with your mind and try to rationalize shits, which, well, could be really wrong. Also, what do I want to say? Oh yeah, also I don't understand why he uses endnotes because it's kind of silly to just like see notes and then you see something confusing and then you see the notes that should explain it, but instead of that, the bottom of the page where you can just easily check it, it's at the end of the book, which you have to scroll open. It's just horrible. But yes, hi, welcome. Jurassic Killer. I don't think I've ever seen you here before. Neither on the channel? Question mark? This is a pretty boring stream. I'm just gonna mention that, sorry. Because it's mostly just me reading books that not everyone can see because copyright mark, of course. And also mostly, yeah, just me writing about shits and reading the books that not everyone can see. But yes. Hi. Loading infosphere. I'm lost. Oh yeah, I was talking about the gradient of abstraction of any research on the ethics of computer games. I still don't understand what a gradient of abstraction means and the level of abstraction. I get the example, but I'm not sure what any of it means. I'm actually not sure myself. I'm good over the place, but I've seen your videos before. Oh, really? That's cool. What videos is it? Oh, so you just like randomly find me like streaming and then just pop in? That's hype. That's amazing. I love the, what do you call it? Algorithm. Yay. The game's from an information ethics perspective defines the network of distributed responsibility by the method of abstraction. What is the method of abstraction? Harm to the informational balance of a particular game has to be defined in a number of levels of abstraction. that's not really helpful. I'm so creating the gradient of abstraction in which the ethicist should place the network of responsibilities. There's no explanation of what is the level of abstraction is and what is the gradient of abstraction. So, what? Question mark? I don't understand. I just understand that level of abstraction is the foundational structure for the gradient of abstraction. It's hard. Balance of a particular game has to be defined in number of levels of abstraction. Creating the gradient of abstraction in which the ethicist, that's how you write it, should place. So the network of responsibility is placed upon this gradient of abstraction. Okay. Should place. I'm lost again. The network of responsibilities. I understand that the abstract of, as far as I understand, the gradient of abstraction involves the whole game, and by the whole includes the community, of course, the community, the player, the game itself, and the relation between both, which is a bunch of levels. But I cannot, by me, define what those means. I can only give example of what I understand what it is. Once these elements are identified, the ethics of a particular situation in an infosphere are ready to be analyzed. The ethic of computer games, from an information ethic perspective, has two crucial elements, and that is: first, distributed responsibility implies that the consumer of the game are equally responsible as the game designers, or sometimes even more responsible. Sure, because that's how you view it at first. That you need to view it at first. You need to view that there's not one person to immediately to blame. You need to do some research and see, because you need to understand that everyone is responsible in the infosphere. And then when you find it, you can check out, oh yeah, this person has more responsibility in this case, in this situation. There we go. Which is interesting. So, thus, it is concordance with the Homo poieticus approach, by which active agents in a game ought to be creative and responsible for the well-being of the game and the game community. Players are creatively responsible for their experience in the infosphere. Furthermore, distributed responsibility expands the moral orbit of the ethics of game, including those stakeholders whose discourses are informationally relevant for a game. Example? Even though they are not agents in a game, the media discourse and other discourses and agents are also part of the informational natures of the game and ought to play a role in the game ethical soundness. Such as fanfiction? Are you like talking, when you're talking about the media, are you talking about fanfiction as well? Are you talking about the art that people made? Or are you talking about more talking about the news that covers the game in maybe in a horrible way usually? Second, by defining informational balance as morally good, this adaptation. Yeah, what is good is informational balance, which kind of interesting for me because I read like summary of the book that Miguel quotes for informational ethics by, I forgot someone, which says that it's not clear what is good is, which I would reply, isn't good like means that informational balance? I think it's informational balance, that is what's good. This adoption of information ethics places a great deal of responsibility on the design of the system and indirectly on the designer. Oh, this one is interesting. As morally good. So, what do I mean moral design? This adaptation of information ethics places a great deal of responsibility on the design of the system and indirectly on the designers. Yeah, you cannot write. A bad game design is unbalanced, making the game experience flawed or negating the constructivist capacities of the players and the players' communities. In unbalanced by the sense that it doesn't strictly means that the balance is just like the whole system balance, the whole how this stats goes, this stat goes, but like the whole, what do you call it? It's an infosphere, so there's players, there is books, there's arts. It considers all of that, which is insane, dude. I guess as wait, you know what? We were talking about game as the center, so yes, maybe that's the rule and system. I'm not really sure. A bad game design is the balance making the game experience flawed or negating the constructivist capacities of the players and players. Okay, you know what? Maybe it's just talking about the game itself or the design. Because it's the center. Bad design is an unethical practice. A game poorly designed is, in principle, an unethical object because its dysfunctional design interrupts and harms the ludic experience. Ooh. Damaging the infosphere as a network of ecological relations. A game that is impossible to win, or the camera design in Shadow of the Colossus, which sometimes do not allow the player to actually see where her target is, are example of bad design that creates a frustrating experience affecting the well-being of the agents in the game. I can mention other games that does silly things like this. But I love that. I love that I mentioned that. There are degrees, though, of unethical design. Okay, there are degrees of unethical design. A game that is poorly balanced, extraordinarily difficult, or terribly unplayable is unethical, but it is so in an intrinsic way. That is, it is unethical in its design, but not towards the player. On the other hand, a game that constrains the constructivist ethical capacities of the player by not allowing them to bring their own values and practice in the game, dismissing or disempowering them, is an extrinsically unethical game. It affects the well-being of the infosphere by affecting the agents and their information capacities, such as most MMORPGs that follows the Ultima Online tradition from EverQuest to Dark Age of Camelot tends to present instances of unethical design in the way their players are occasionally unable to play by the values they create. And how? What do you mean? As I will argue in my study of World of Warcraft. Fuck, that's still far away. Not every game though needs the presence of player values, but every game can present intrinsically unethical design as they are all design objects. Okay. Wait, what do you mean that not every game needs presence of player values? Now I'm so confused. What kind of game is that? So in an intrinsic way. On the other hand, a game that constrains the construct. I'm so livid right now. Ethical capacities of the players by not allowing them to bring example, please, and practices into the game, dismissing or disempowering them is an intrinsically unethical game. It affects the well-being of the infosphere by affecting the agents and their informational capacities. Yeah. Okay, not every game though needs presence of players' values. But every game can present. What does this mean? Not every game needs presence of player values. What does this mean? Does it mean like some games just don't deal with the need of ethical values? Yes. So Tetris is an example of that, I guess. Like you can really not put any value of yourself in there, but every game can Okay. Maybe that's what it means. That will explain everything. Basically, intrinsically unethical design. Oh yeah, I can see that for Tetris now. That's as they are all design objects. Tetris, evil Tetris. So this such as an evil Tetris. Cool. From an information ethic perspective, to understand the game, it is necessary to take into account the game design and the game object, players, and other elements that can be considered at some relevant level, informationally relevant for the game as infosphere. Furthermore, the relevance of the concept of information and informational being also open up the possibility of understanding the moral responsibility of the fictional layer of the game. A fictional layer as well. The moral responsibility of the fictional layer of the game, which is, or the semiotic layer, okay? Semiotic layer of the game. What Joel will call the fiction of the game is a part of what? Of the it's part of the informational structure, I know. So structure, yeah, of the infosphere. And it should be analyzed as such. Yeah, why? Thus, it might be possible to say that the game fiction can not gonna lie, Roblox Forsaken is kinda peak. Only bringing it up now because I'm playing it as I listen to the stream. Ooh, Roblox Forsaken. I never heard of that. I don't really play Roblox games, so that's why I'm like, what was that? I tried to search Roblox Forsaken by searching Roblox in Google. Amazing. Of course, I wouldn't find anything. Survivors? Is it like Dead by Daylight? I would cry this. Oh god, it's actually like Dead by Daylight, isn't it? Is it what it is? What? Why do fandom... The unofficial wiki for the Roblox game Forsaken Academnation is a multiplayer asymmetric horror game. Okay, Dead by Daylight. Immediate ones plus 1 point for it to be Dead by Daylight. Created by Soul Driven Lore, the game currently follows 9 survivors trying to survive from possible killers. 9 survivors, 4 possible killers. Okay, so the game is still currently getting updates, so this number may change in the near future. Oh, it has emotes. Survivors, killers, maps. I need to see the objectives. Kinda, huh? Interesting. Killers. There's a generator as well. Plus 10 points to Dead by Daylight. What the hell is this? Release killer, the Butcher, Rust, Blue, John Doe. They have Jason. Who is Cool Kid? What is this game? Developer exclusive killer. This killer's gonna be what? Duke Aries. They have a trans representative killer. That's fucking good. Who is Sancho? What? Sukuna? Why? Oh my god, Herobrine. This is I like it. Oh, it's the upcoming one. The Bombard Killer, Zombie King, Drexobloxer, Sonic X. What? Slenderman. This is so funny. Survivors. Nope. Thank you. Shed, Shed Let Sky? Guess one. Wow, what kind of name is this? Elliot Lucicar Bilderman. Master Veronicas, Mr. Luke Palfrey. Cerulean. Bloxburg News Reporter Guy. What? SWAT Officer Knight. Martial Artist. Bacon Hair. Alan. Alan. Yeah, Alan. Not Alan. Alan. Clockwork. Juggernaut. Kate. Bright Eyes. Maximum ADH. Who is naming all of it? I love this name. They're all so fucking silly. Unless as such. Fuck, I'm lost again. Thus, in my books, possible say that game fiction can also be highly responsible for the game ethical values. Say that the game's fiction can also be highly responsible for the game's ethical values. For instance, a game like Manhunt could be deemed unethical by its fictional level because the action that the game simulates are clearly unethical, but I'm guessing or something that I'm guessing. I'm like not looking at a book right now. But we need to consider it in an ethical distributed responsibility system, and you just cannot say that the game is fully unethical just because the story is unethical. But we need to look at the bigger picture. Yes, is that what you're talking about, Miguel? Let me see. Nevertheless, the fictional element of the game is only part of the I'm correct, informational structure if it is relevant for the design experience of the game. In Manhunt, the villain actions are a part of a design that creates interesting ethical reflections in the confluence of system design and game world simulation, as I've argued before. So yes, exactly what I was thinking. System. There we go. I assume it's like this. Games are process. Yep. And we have to understand their ethics as such. Processes. And we have to understand their ethics as such. This is also true when it comes to the fictional layer. Everything that is not part of the informational exchange between agents, patient, and the system, but which is fictional, is of no interest for the ethic of... What? What does it mean? Also true when everything that is not part of the informational exchange between agents, patients, and the system, but which is fictional, is of no interest for everything that is not part. If it's not part of the informational exchange, it's not relevant, right? But if a fictional element is relevant, okay, you could just say that, to the way the game design configures the information exchange, then that fictional element can be a part of the distributed network of responsibilities in an ethical analysis of the game. So relevancy is important. I assume it's like this. Maybe. There we go. For instance, the impossibility of cross-faction communication in World of Warcraft is an element that does play an informational role in the game design. Thus, it should be analyzed from an ethical point of view. Yes. On the other hand, the fact that the Mario in Super Mario Bros. Is a small Italian number is not ethically relevant, as it plays no role in the game informational exchange. Are you sure about that? Maybe people are talking about it. Maybe people are fighting about it. Question mark. Or that's so funny. Short Italian plumber. The cross-faction communication in World of Warcraft is an element that does play an informational role. What is informational role defined here then? Like I could argue that the short Italian plumber actually is part of the informational exchange. The design, thus, maybe because it doesn't really affect the whole experience, yeah, should be analyzed from an ethical point of view. On the other hand, the fact that Mario in Super Mario Bros. Is short Italian, which Miguel doesn't write that. I write that. Is not ethically relevant. It plays no role in the game's informational exchange. Yay! I will see it does not directly contribute to the whole game system. Information ethics can provide a comprehensive theoretical framework for understanding of the ethical community games, a framework that expands our capacities of analysis of game ethics by also expanding our moral universe. Expansion. From this perspective, computer games are ecosystems of information in which users and producers are responsible for the well-being of that given environment. Nevertheless, this perspective presents some limitation, which is I arrive at that page of talking about the limitation, and that's the end of the stream for now, because that's 10 pages exactly, which I will do another one tomorrow, maybe in the same amount of hours, or maybe less, usually that. But thank you all for attending now, and thank you for watching, and I hope you have fun playing that Roblox game. Was a little busy, but to clear a few things up, 4-second clears are mainly based off of Roblox horror media, games and hackers. Cool Kid was a hacker a long time, and Jason was just in it. Oh, that explains it. The dev exclusive killer are just devs. No, I will argue that all the killers are the devs having fun, actually, because they're also funny and silly, and I love them. Like the legendary Roblox hacker is a killer. Cool Kid. The bacon head. It's so funny. But yes, thank you for telling me about that game. It's really interesting to see it. I really want to play Dead by Daylight again. I've been wanting to play it for a long time. I cannot stream it though. Maybe I can stream it. Mostly probably will kick my computer ass.